Would you believe me if I told you these motion graphics were created with just a one sentence long prompt? No After Effects, no designers, just an easy to use AI motion graphic designer that lets you create animations like this in less than 5 minutes. All I did was enter a simple prompt and it generated this motion graphic that looks like it was created by a professional designer. You've probably seen this animation style before that was founded by Vox, a YouTube channel with over 12 million subscribers and over 3 billion views that I produced multiple series on Netflix, and their animation style is actually a big part of why they've done so well. However, the problem is that creating animations like this normally takes hours of manual work in After Effects, or you have to break your bank account paying freelancers to do the work for you, and therefore this style has been very difficult to recreate. But I've actually found a cheaper and easier way to do it. So in this video, I'll show you step by step how you can recreate a Vox style documentary only using AI. And the good thing is that this tool is so easy to use that anyone can do it, even if you have zero motion graphic design experience. But before we get into how to create the actual animations, we first need to find a good topic and write a script for our video. So there are a few ways you can go about this. If you already have a topic in mind and have some decent script writing experience, you can do it all by yourself. However, if you've never done it before, it's probably easier to use AI instead. Personally, I like to use ChatGPT for this, but you can use whatever tool that works for you. I simply just entered a prompt asking ChatGPT to give me a list of video topics in the same style as Vox. After reading them through, I thought this one about how the global population is shrinking sounded the most interesting. So now you just want to tell ChatGPT which topic you decided to go with and ask it to generate a script in the same style and wording as Vox is using in their videos. Your script is probably not gonna be perfect right away, so I'd recommend you paste it into a Google Doc, read it through and make a few changes to it. Okay, now that you have your script ready, we can move on to creating the motion graphics. So instead of using After Effects or some other complicated editing software, you want to use Hera, which is an AI motion graphic generator that can create animations from a simple prompt. It works kind of like a ChatGPT but for motion graphics. So there are two different ways to create motion graphics with Hera. Either you can create it from scratch, only using a prompt describing what you want the animation to look like, or you can go to this bar on the left and click on Templates. Here you'll find a bunch of customizable motion graphic templates you can use to create map animations, logo animations, and most importantly, Vox animations. Basically, you can either create a motion graphic from scratch or go with a proven concept and customize it however you like. Here I actually have quite a lot of templates that have been designed to create Vox animations, so I'm gonna go with those for this video. To find these templates, all you gotta do is go to the search bar, type in Vox, and you'll access all of these Vox-inspired templates. And these are not only inspired by Vox, they've actually been used in their YouTube videos. Take this infographic animation as an example. If you look at this YouTube video posted by Vox a few months ago, you'll find that exact animation. Okay, now let me show you how to actually use these templates. The way you want to go about this is to find templates and create animations that matches the content of your script. So if you take a look at the script I wrote, the hook is about how we've been told that the world population is exploding and that one day there will be too many people for the world to handle. And after looking around for a while, I found this article animation template. And if you watched a Vox video before, you know that this is one of their most iconic animations. Now to customize it, all you gotta do is enter a prompt describing what you want the animation to look like. In this case, I want to change the headline and add a body text underneath. So I'll write something like, change the headline to "The world population is growing at a rapid pace." Add a body text underneath saying, "Will the world be able to handle all of these people?" Then click on generate and you'll have an animation like this ready in only a few seconds. As you can see, it did exactly what we asked for in the prompt with the headline and the body text. And if you want to edit anything, you can just click on the text boxes and move them around however you like. In this case, I didn't like how the text was placed in the bottom part of the screen, so I simply just clicked on it and moved it up to the middle. I also thought that the red color looked a bit off, so I entered a prompt asking it to change the highlight color from red to yellow. And just like that, in only a few seconds, we've created an animation that probably would have taken an hour or so to create manually in After Effects. Now let's do a few more together so you really get the hang of it. If we go back to the script, it's mentioned in this part how the world population has grown from 1 billion people in 1900 to 6 billion people in 2000. And I thought it would be perfect to create a graph animation for this. After looking around, I actually found this template that shows how the human population have grown over time. All I need to do now is just enter a prompt describing what I want the graph to show. So I entered a prompt saying, create a graph animation showing how the world population grew from 1.6 billion people in 1900 to 6 billion people in 2000. Now hit generate and it will create a graph with the years and numbers we entered in the prompt. As you can see, it now shows how there were 1.6 billion people in 1900 and 6 billion people in 2000. Now, if we move on to the next part of the script, there's a part about how the population is starting to decline from 8 billion people. And to illustrate this, I wanted to create a motion graphic of a declining graph. So I looked around among the templates and I managed to find this one of a rising graph. And I think we can get some really good results with this one if we just come up with some good prompts. Basically, we want the graph to go downwards, showing how the world population will decline in the upcoming years. So I entered a prompt saying, create a graph showing how the world population is currently in 2025 at 8 billion people and the rate in which will decline in the upcoming years. And in only a few seconds it created this animation with pretty much everything I instructed it to do. The headline is accurate, the graph is going downwards. The only thing is that I feel that the colors are a bit off compared to the other animations. So to fix this, I just entered a prompt asking to change the color of the text boxes and the graph to yellow, and it came up with this result which looks absolutely great. So as you can see, using Hera is a very effective way to create motion graphics if you don't have any designer experience or you just don't want to spend a bunch of money on freelancers. I actually went on Fiverr to see how much it would cost, and I found this guy who is a top rated seller, and he charged $350 for a 30-second long animation, and that is just not doable for most people. So if you want to save yourself some time and money and try out Hera for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in the top of the description, and if you use the code YouTube, you'll get a 10% discount on your first 3 months. Now that we have all of our motion graphics ready, we can move on to the next step, creating a voiceover. When creating voiceovers, I like to use a text-to-speech tool like 11 Labs, which in my opinion has the most realistic voices and it's really easy to use. All you gotta do is paste in your script into this text box, pick a good voice, hit generate, and you'll have your voiceover ready in a few seconds. It's not always perfect right away though, so you might have to regenerate it a couple of times to get a good result. Then all you gotta do is click on this button to download it to your computer. So now that we have the motion graphics and the voiceover ready, the final thing we need to do is to put it all together with some sound design in an editing software. Since all the animations is already done in Hera, you're not gonna need to do any crazy editing. Personally, I use Adobe Premiere Pro, but you'll be able to follow along in whatever editing software that works for you. So let's start off by importing the voiceover and drag it down to the timeline. The thing with AI voices is that they usually have these weirdly long pauses. So what I like to do is to add the J-cuts. It's when you remove these silent moments and slightly overlap the sound bars. This will give the voiceover a better flow and make it sound more realistic. Now you just want to continue repeating the same process until you've added J-cuts throughout the entire voiceover. Next you want to import all of the motion graphics you created in Hera. Now start adding the motion graphics to the timeline and place them above the matching part of the voiceover. Once you've added all of the motion graphics to the timeline, there's really not much editing that needs to be done to the visuals, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to the sound design. The first thing we need to do is add some music. Vox usually uses some kind of minimal instrumental beat, and the best way I've found to find similar copyright-free music is to use a website like Pixabay. So I just headed over there, searched for documentary music and found one I thought would fit the video. Downloaded it from Pixabay, dragged it down to the timeline and adjusted the volume so that it's not too loud. Finally, we need to add some sound effects to make the animations feel more alive. For example, when a text or a graph is popping up in the animations. Now let's take a look and see how the final video turned out.
For decades, we've been told that the world's population is exploding, that one day there'll be too many people for the planet to handle. Governments are now warning of a different crisis, not overpopulation, but underpopulation. In 1900, there were about 1.6 billion people on Earth. By the year 2000, that number had quadrupled to more than 6 billion, and today we're at about 8 billion. But here's the plot. The rate of growth now actually is slowing down. The reason comes down to fertility rates. Globally, that number has dropped from about 5 in 1960 to just 2.3 today. And in many countries like Japan, South Korea, Italy, even China, it's already below replacement level, which is about 2.1.
Without spending hours in an editing software, we managed to create a professional-looking Vox-style documentary only using Hera. So if you want to be able to create motion graphics like this without the cost and complexity of traditional tools, remember, with the code YouTube, you'll get a 10% discount on your first 3 months using Hera.